The Civil Coalition for Transparency in Governance has rubbished attempt to drag the President Chief of Staff, Femi Gbajabiamila, into the probe of the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation. In the statement co-signed by his convener Comrade Emaluji and Adebayo Ogorry, his secretary and spokesperson, the group said Gbajabiamila has no case to answer. According to the group, they have seen tenuous analyses that concluded that Gbajabiamila's guilt simply because he was listed at Betta Edu reference on CV used for a confirmatory screening for the Senate. They also added that someone surmised that Chief of Staff was part of transaction because he's reportedly of the same political sub-bloc as some people who have been insinuated to be connected with the issue, saying these conjectures have been made to gain ground even though those behind them are aware that they do not have the facts to back up the claims. The group therefore urged Nigerians to resist the temptation of reducing the investigation of the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation into a reality show that will only serve entertainment purposes.
It is for this reason that CISCOTIG today is concerned on the ongoing attempts to drag in the Chief of Staff to the President, Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, into the issue. We are concerned that this could have undesired consequences, even from the perspective of those who are pursuing this narrative. For instance, we have seen tenuous analyses that concluded Gbajabiamila's guilt simply because he was listed as Edu's reference on the CV used for her confirmatory screening before the Senate. Some surmised that the Chief of Staff was part of the transactions because he is reportedly of the same political sub-bloc as some people who have been insinuated to be connected with the issue. These conjectures have been made to gain ground even though those behind them are aware that they do not have the facts to back up these claims. But the most outlandish of these claims is the one that comically concluded that the Chief of Staff is complicit in the transactions being investigated because he forwarded the memo containing President Tinubu's approval to the suspended minister for the release of 3 billion naira for the verification of the National Social Register compiled by the former administration of President Muhammadu Buhari. This even has implications for the eventual outcome of any resulting trial, since charging the wrong persons could jeopardize such trials. The second is the unwitting frustration of governance, when people demand impractical workflow, like insinuating that the Chief of Staff should not have transmitted Mr. President's approval to the suspended minister. Consequently, the Civil Society Coalition for Transparency in Governance, CISCOTIG, is urging Nigerians to resist the temptation of reducing the investigation of the Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation into a reality show that would only serve entertainment purposes. This is a serious matter as it affects the well-being of the vulnerable and the poorest of the poor amongst us, whose welfare must on no condition be diverted for the selfish use of a few individuals. We as Nigerians must also not lend ourselves to becoming part of a lynch mob, deployed for settling political scores by conducting media trials that declare people guilty, even when they have not established that they were part of the problems we are addressing.